Rush Limbaugh has now apologized to that Georgetown law student who said that her student health plan should cover birth control. But your party is still pushing this issue. In the Senate, they offered the blunt amendment this week, which said that any business, any insurance company could decide on moral grounds not to offer birth control coverage as part of their health insurance plan. Do you really want to be campaigning on contraception in the year 2012?
Well, the blunt amendment was broader than that, as you know. I mean, it was a conscience clause exception. I mean, it's a conscience clause exception that existed prior to when President Obama decided that he could impose his values on people of faith when the people of faith believe that this is a grievous moral wrong.
But respectfully,
you hear so much about the left
saying... Let me just say, but the blunt amendment wasn't just talking about Catholic institutions, Catholic colleges, charities. Right. It was saying any, U.S. Steel, any company, any insurance company could decide not to offer birth control. No, it wasn't about birth control. It was about a moral exception to any type of mandate. It didn't specify no, but
birth control.
Including birth control. Right, any treatment.
Well, but this is a conscience clause exception, which used to be something that was unanimously agreed to. Daniel Patrick Moynihan, back in the Hillary Care bill, offered a similar amendment, and it was accepted widely. The idea that the government can force people to do things that they believe are morally wrong is something that, at least heretofore, was seen as an outrage, that there would be a separation of church and state. You hear so much about the left saying, oh, we need to separate church and state. Well, how about the separation of church and state when the state wants to force the church and people who are faith or who are believers into doing something that they don't want to do? And as you know, in that amendment, it said that if people want to object to certain treatments, that the Secretary of Health could require them to adopt other treatments, so it's actually the same. So it's not something where people could say, well, we're just going to get out of paying for these things because we don't want to pay for them. It's real, where there's real clear conscience protections for people of faith. The government should not be forcing people to do things that are against their conscience, and that has always been a hallmark of America and absolutely anchored in the First Amendment.
But Senator, this is more than an issue of faith or conscience, religious freedom. You say that you believe that birth control is wrong. Take a look.
Many in the Christian faith have said, well, that's okay. I mean, contraception's okay. It's not okay because it's a license to do things in the sexual realm that is counter to how things are supposed to be.
Senator, the Centers for Disease Control say that 99% of women in this country between the ages of 15 and 44 who have had sexual activity, and this includes Catholic women, they say that 99% of them at some point in their lives have used artificial birth control. Are you saying all those women have done something wrong?
I'm reflecting the views of the church that I believe in, and we used to be tolerant of those beliefs. I guess now, when you have beliefs that are consistent with the church, somehow or another you're out of the mainstream, and that to me is a pretty sad situation where you can't have personal held beliefs. But that's not what the issue's about. The issue's about whether the government can force you to do things that are against your conscience. And that's what we've been talking about on the road. We haven't been talking about my own personal moral beliefs. We've been talking about what the government can do in forcing people to change or violate those beliefs.
On February 15th, 2012, Mr. Ellisberg wrote, "Back in 1992, when Bill Clinton was running for president, his campaign manager, James Carville, famously coined the phrase, 'It's the economy, stupid.' Only one thing matters. Only one thing should be talked about. If ever a presidential election since the Great Depression should talk about the economy only, it is this election. It really is the economy, stupid." And so, what has the Republican Party chosen to talk about, deflecting all attention from the economy? Contraceptives. It's just, well, bizarre is too rational a word. At a time of bankruptcies, bailouts, unemployment, and deficits, the grand old party has consciously made contraceptives its focus. If anything shows that Republicans realize the U.S. economy has shown 6 straight months of improvement, unemployment at its lowest since being driven through the roof by George Bush. Remember him? This is it. If anything shows that Republicans realize they don't have any issue now to seriously address seeking to contraceptives is the proof. With consumer confidence growing, and President Barack Obama's approval at its highest in a long time, the Republican Party clearly is scurrying to find some other issue. But this? Contraceptives? This is insane on so many levels. To start with, as much as Republican leaders and pundits are trying to whip their radical right base into a religious fervor to believe this is all about religion, it isn't even remotely about religion. It's all politics. After all, contrary to the far-right frenzy, the Catholic Church is not required to furnish contraceptive access to anyone. In fact, there is a waiver for churches and houses of worship in the mandate. The mandate is solely about business employers. If the Catholic Church opened a restaurant, we all know they'd be required by law to pay minimum wage, provide workers' comp, and offer health care insurance to all their restaurant employees, just like all employers. It's the law. We all know that. So, if the Catholic Church, or if anyone, chooses to own a hospital, they all have to pay a minimum wage, provide workers' comp, and offer health care to their employees. It's the law. And that law today includes a great many benefits to Americans, among them giving access to birth control insurance to women. It's the law. A church can even avoid all this, of course, by just being a church, and happily have its religious waiver. But, if you want to be a business employer in America, it's simple. You've got to follow the law. You have to pay minimum wage. You have to provide workers' comp. And you have to offer health care. To show how this fake angst is merely politics, the White House compromised even removed churches from the equation. A church can stay completely uninvolved. It's a reasonable compromise, easy to grasp, and which takes all fire out of the GOP brimstone. But here's the scary thing for Republicans on their continued contraception efforts. This whole explanation I just gave you, that's the rational part. Purely for the sake of argument, let's accept that this does touch religion in some mystical way. Well, even if that was the case, it still means one thing. The Republican Party wants to talk about contraceptives in the presidential race. At a time when the economy, unemployment, and budget deficits dominate our lives, the Republican Party wants instead to talk about contraceptives. When presidential races deal with civil rights, poverty, national defense, education, foreign relations, energy, terrorism, and social justice, the GOP wants to talk about contraceptives. The only people who talk about contraceptives this much are teenage boys. If anything tells you about who a political party is, the Republican Party, making contraception a platform issue, explains it all for you. The attention that Republicans are giving contraceptives, even after the White House made its reasonable compromise, is going to massively backfire on them. Is that really the issue they want to put forth to win independence? Contraceptives? Forgetting that the issue is really, truly, not remotely what Republican leadership is trying to make it seem, most people accept the compromise completely. And this, during a challenging economy, is what they're telling the public they care about. Contraceptives. It's not that it's small and petty, it's that it's sort of creepy. Even further, it's a controversy that most Americans don't much believe in, that most Catholics don't believe in. A Guttmacher Institute study showed that 98% of sexually active Catholic women have used contraception. When America has been promoting contraception for decades to fight unwanted pregnancies and protect against an epidemic of AIDS, the Republican Party is making unprotected sex its big presidential cause. Yipes! Yeesh! And it goes even further. Because as irrational and creepy as this all is, at any time, but especially now when the focus should be on the economy, this presidential campaign against birth control for women is going to be really, really bad for Republicans with, well, women. Given that women are the ones who get pregnant, it's near impossible to think that any political stand against making contraception accessible to women is going to endear itself with that particular group that's a majority of the population. Yet there you have it. With the economy still being a critical issue, yet seeing that it's moving in the right direction, the Republican Party has dumped it overboard, waved the white flag, and is marching against contraception. And any Republican believing that the economy should indeed be the important issue to discuss without losing focus, you're right. But take it up with the GOP leaders driving the agenda. They've decided what's more important. It's the contraception, stupid.